This is a text printout from a Samsung CLP 300 color laser printer. This is how I got the printer, and as you can see, it's pretty good in here, and then it kind of drops off and the print fades out as we move in. I did two different repairs to this printer. This is the first and probably the simplest thing. As you can see, the print is pretty good across here. However, it starts dropping out once you get with text. This particular little graphic here is pretty notable. This is the last repair that I actually did to this, and I think this actually looks pretty good. As you can see, the blacks are pretty consistent across here. I'm not even sure. These are solid blacks, and I'm not exactly sure how this printer originally did solid blacks even from the beginning, but this looks pretty good. I'm going to be doing a graphic, and then we'll show you the repairs. This is a graphic that I've run through the printer. You're looking at the original text file right now, and what you're looking at now is a printout from the Samsung that I'm working with. As you can see, some of the colors are okay, but we start getting dropouts here. The black is a problem. There's something wrong with the black roller on this printer. So again, this is the original printout. This is after doing what I think is the simpler of the two things. This looks much improved, and given how easy it is to do, it's probably worth looking at. However, there's still some little lines in here, and the black sort of is thin in spots. This is a printout of the same graphic with the last repair that I did, and this looks really good. I don't have a test printer to run this against. Yeah, it's a color printer. It looks okay. So we'll run through those repairs right now. This is the Samsung CLP 300 that we're working with. It's really simple to take this thing apart. Take the paper tray out. This gets opened up. This is the imaging unit that we're looking at. That is the waste toner cup. If your printer's not working, that might be a reason. That's a pretty common flaw, is that toner cup, the waste toner cup, gets loaded. So I've just removed the imaging unit, and that's the thing that we're going to be working with pretty much through this whole video. So that's going to get pulled off to the side, and then we're going to bring back the imaging unit right here. So I've left the actual toner cans in there. We're going to turn this around. That green drum that you're looking at, that's the I don't know, we're just going to call it the green drum. There's a whole toner transfer electrical thing going on, but we're just going to call it the green drum. It's pretty sensitive. Apparently it can be damaged by too much exposure to direct sunlight, so we're going to deal with that in a second. This whole thing is only held together with two screws. Once again, the green drum's pretty sensitive, so you don't want to mash it with a screwdriver. I'm wearing gloves. It should be okay. There's, once again, two screws here. We're going to get closer views. There you go, closer views of the whole thing. This plastic needs to be kind of pulled out. It might feel a little bit more abusive than you think a plastic thing should have, but I've done this a bunch of times and it seems to be okay. Again, that's the one side. This is what you're looking at on the left side. We're going to have a closer view of that. But again, the whole thing just needs to get popped out, and then it frees up. So let's move on to the closer view of that. Here we go. So that's this screw again. I've already loosened that screw up, and we're just going to sort of pull it out. This arm kind of needs to get just sort of crangled out. And then there's two feet at the bottom of this green drum unit that need to come out from the actual imaging unit that we extracted. We're going to be showing all that stuff later. So here we are cranking the thing out. It's here again. You just gotta work it out. And see, there, I got it. I think we're going to show that again. So this exposes our 4 color toner transfer rollers. you'll look carefully, you'll see there's a spring here which is not really attached to anything. It's going to be important to know where that is and hang on to it. I used a small cup and just put all the little screws and such. It mounts right there, and we're going to need to put that back when we reassemble this unit. Again, not challenging. These toner rollers are not attached really to anything, and they just slide right out. They're all actually very similar, with the exception of that, we'll call it the feed tunnel on top of them. They they all just slide out. You're going to want to keep these level, as the back of that feed tunnel is kind of open, so if you tip these you might dump toner out. You're going to lose some toner doing this process. You can maybe recover most of it, but there's going to be some. But if you can minimize that by holding these level and not having toner dump out of the back, I suppose that's probably a good thing. I'm pulling out the black on the bottom right now. The black one is our problem child, and the actual repair is going to be on this one. I'm going to be using the other colors throughout this video, as it's easier to sort of see what's going on with the toner roller, where the black just doesn't show up so hot on video. So we'll be moving on to the next thing, which is to put the, I guess we'll call it the green drum section back into place. As you saw, there's 2 screws on the bottom of that unit. There are 2 feet which need to be socketed into little holes, and we're going to show you those in a second. I might have mentioned earlier, this green drum is apparently sensitive to sunlight and can be damaged with excessive exposure, and scratching it is not good either. So you want to be careful with the green unit. Again, with the feet need to be socketed into holes, and here we are. We're showing them right here. So that's the hole. Excuse me, where the foot goes into. It's kind of a big deal, and it's kind of not. It's the feet need to be engaged properly for this unit to be put back together, and if the feet are not engaged properly, this unit is not going to fit back into the printer. So it's there. See, I just dropped it in, but you got to make sure that they're in there. On the opposite side is the data cable. That's something you need to make sure that you keep out of the way. So again, this needs to be protected from damage, be it things falling on it, or direct sunlight. I've heard other people doing things like putting towels over it or putting this in a box. I just put it back together and stuck it back in the printer. This whole repair, it actually goes through pretty quickly, but if you're going to be doing this over a couple of days or something like that, you might as well just put it back in the printer. So here we are with the 4 individual color toner transfer units. They're all the same unit, with the exception of that feed tunnel in the back of them. The second repair, which we're going to be doing in the second video, involves transferring some parts back and forth between the units. This one right now, what we're going to do is we're going to pull the lid off of the black unit, which is again our trouble child, and then we're going to be changing that. So this is something we're going to be revisiting a bit, and what I'm doing is I'm taking a toner cartridge here and I'm cleaning off some of the toner, and then I'm manually rolling the drum by hand. What you're looking for is to see that the drum is getting good, clean, even coverage of toner across its length. The black one doesn't look very good. However, it's black and it doesn't show up on video very well. The magenta, actually all the other colors look pretty good. So you can just kind of see how that works out. I think we'll be doing this with yellow as well. That's high contrast and can be seen pretty cleanly. And there it is, there's yellow. So I've cleaned off a bunch of toner, and then we're going to manually roll that again and see that there's a nice clean even coverage of toner across that drum. This is also, you can see where my thumb is at the very top of the screen. There's a plastic guard on the top of this transfer roller. It's not really in the way of anything. I think it's glued on, but it's one of the differences between the toner cartridges, not that much. So this is our black problem child toner transfer unit. There are 5 screws on the top of it, and those need to come out. It's not very challenging, and then that lid comes off. So at this point I'm going to show you a graphic that I've prepared to hopefully explain this whole thing a little bit more. So this graphic is showing us what's happening when the toner transfer roller is working properly. And if you look at the top there, you'll see that there is the clean toner metering blade. That is actually attached to the toner lid, which we're about to take off on the black unit. When this functions properly, there's loose toner, in this case magenta, which is labeled off to the right, and the toner transfer drum rotates, and it essentially drags out colored toner across the drum. This is metered into an even level of material across the length of the whole drum, and then it passes past the green drum, which there's an electrical exchange, and some of the toner jumps off the black drum in the center, and then it later goes to become your image. If you look back at the top here, the clean toner metering blade, you'll see that it's a bent piece of spring steel. The part that actually contacts the drum is not very sharp. However, the very edge, which is exposed there, actually probably what's closest to the arrow for clean toner metering, that's very sharp, and you're going to want to watch out for that. But the part that actually contacts the transfer drum is okay. That's what we're going to be cleaning up, and I'm going to show you actually the same graphic that's been changed a little bit to sort of show you what happened here. So this is the second graphic. This is the dirty toner metering blade, and this is what we're repairing on the black toner unit on our printer. I'm using the magenta because, again, the colors just work out better. If you look, everything is the same. However, this one has a dirty toner metering blade, and what's happened is at the very point where the blade contacts the toner transfer drum, there's a collection of just crusty, nasty toner, and what that's done is affecting the ability of the toner blade to regulate a nice even coverage on the toner transfer drum. So you're getting lines, you're getting dropouts, you're getting thin spots and whatnot. So what we're going to do with the first repair, which is the easiest of the two, is we're just going to take the toner lid off with the attached blade, and we're just going to scrape the crusty toner off of it, and then we're just going to see how it works. The second part of this is where the actual toner transfer drum and the blade is swapped out with a different color that we don't get that much use out of. So now we're going to move on to actually taking the toner lid and with the attached blade off of the toner transfer unit. So we're back with taking the screws out. There's again only 5 screws on this cover plate with the attached blade. If you notice, I've seen these called Z plates or whatever. There's 2 of them on either side, and they are slightly different. They may look similar, but I think there's a slightly different dimension on one of those. And you're going to want to make sure that you don't mix the sides up. If you do mix the sides up, it's not going to destroy the thing. You're going to notice that it just it doesn't fit properly. And if you try to roll that drum, it's going to be a little tight. But you're going to want to make sure that you separate those 2. So this is the plate. It just comes free, and underneath it is just loose toner and the augers for the toner. If we flip it over, you're going to see that it's covered with toner. I'm going to clean all that off. I've got compressed air. You can do whatever and use 91% alcohol, rubbing alcohol. Maybe just wipe that thing down a little bit. So this is the repair. This is the first repair. I've got a popsicle stick. That's the cover with the attached blade on the front of it. And I'm just going to scrape the crusty toner off with a popsicle stick. I'm scraping it off the part that contacts the actual roller. The sharper point, which is on the opposite side, is you can scrape on it with a popsicle stick if you want to, but it's not affecting anything. So that's it. You just want to scrape that off, and then we're going to be putting that plate back on right now. And the thing to notice is when you seat this plate back, there are little foam fingers on the actual toner cartridge, and you need to make sure that those foam fingers are not being pinched by the lid. And I'm going to show a closer view of this in just a second here. There's your closer view. So the lid goes on, and then that's the foam finger, which rides in there and keeps toner from glomping out. I'm using an X-Acto blade just to pull the foam finger away from the lid, so that it's not pinching in there and it's sort of free to do its thing. There's a foam finger on each side of this that needs to be checked to make sure that it's not pinching. Maybe it doesn't take as long to do as I'm doing here, but I think I'm exaggerating a little bit for display purposes. Then there's the Z plates and the 5 screws, which I think we're going to put in just a second. And yeah, that's pretty much the repair. So yeah, here we are with the screws and the Z plates. Again, there's 5 screws. If you notice when I put these screws in, I'm actually turning left on these before turning right and putting them in. What's happening is I'm turning them left first to hear a click, which is when I'm into the threads, and then I'll turn right and put the screw in. This is a tactic to avoid stripping out the plastic, which, if you do this a couple of times and you strip some screws out, that's kind of unfortunate, and you're going to have drama trying to reestablish it. I'm also tightening these down. I'm actually just putting the screws in and putting them on loosely, and then I'm going to tighten them all up completely. And I've been installing these in a crosswise fashion to try and keep the plate from warping ever so slightly. I do that with everything, so it's, maybe it's not so important here, but we're doing it. So again, final tightening of this whole thing. I think at the end of this one, I'll be rotating. Yeah, I'm going to again rotate I'm going to clean off some of the toner, and then rotate the drum by turning it clockwise as you're looking at the gear to see what kind of coverage I'm getting. This again is the black one, and you really can't see it too well in the video. The coverage on this, as it sits now, is okay. It could be better, but it doesn't take too much energy to get them in and out, so I'll just try it and see how it works out. And as you saw in the beginning, it's okay. So we're going to move to the second video, and what we're doing in the second video is to swap some parts back and forth between the black and blue toner transfer units. I chose blue because I think I was looking at the some of the stats as like part of a settings printout for this printer, and it seemed like the blue was being used the least. So it was A, probably in the best shape, and B, if I put the slightly messed up parts from the black toner in there, it probably won't show up as much. You may have a different situation, but that's all you. So if just cleaning off the blade gives you good toner coverage, then you can just go with it and reinstall the whole thing. And here's a sped up version of that. Again, its assembly is reversive removal, and we're going to put the yellow toner in last here at the top, making sure to seat properly in the feet in the holes. This is also, I slowed this down because this is where we need to remember to put the spring in. Well, you can't really see it, but that's the spring in my little cup, and that goes on a post. You should see the post pretty plainly. I guess I could have included a better view of it, but I didn't. And that snaps together, and then there's the 2 screws that we talked about in the beginning, and then the whole unit goes back in, and you can see what you got. So I'm going to put a link in the corner here to part 2, which is the part swap section of this, and we'll just kind of assume that you're at the point before putting all this all back together again, and then we'll continue on. So hopefully this has been helpful to you, and if not, maybe the next portion will. Thank you.